Welcome to Geek.
Easy for you to say.
Apparently not. Welcome to Geek Zone Wrestling, a podcast by wrestling fans who just want to talk wrestling.
If we can talk.
So, here we are, a good, 15 days
Yeah, about 2
out
weeks.
from SummerSlam. And, we wanted to get together and do a podcast about it earlier. It's just schedules have not worked out that way. But we're going to do our best to remember what happened SummerSlam, and we'll cover the fallout from the last 2 weeks, obviously afterwards.
So kicking off SummerSlam was Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley.
Believe it or not.
Dynamite match. I mean, the whole thing was anticipation. What's Dom going to do? How's he going to play a part? And the match itself was fantastic. These two women went at it, and I mean,
they have very good in-ring chemistry.
Yeah, their skills were outstanding. I mean, super exciting match. And then as you come toward the finale, Rhea picks up that chair that Liv had brought in, and she's ready to hit her and just keep hitting her. And she raises it up, and Dom comes from behind and grabs the chair.
Yeah, and he's telling her, you can't win the title that way. This isn't how you do it. You can't win the title, making it seem as if, he's on her side, trying to help her win. And then
Liv hits Rhea into Dom. Dom falls off the ring apron with the chair. And then Liv hits Oblivion.
But somehow Rhea kicks out.
And in the midst of this, Dom is making his way around to the side of the ring, puts the chair back into the ring without the referee or the camera really seeing it.
Well, the camera saw it. The referee didn't.
He gets up on, and then...
yeah, he's on the apron.
Yeah, he's on the apron.
Trying to distract the referee. Liv hits another Oblivion onto the chair, and then Dom doesn't distract anymore. 1, 2, 3. Liv Morgan retains.
Rhea gets up, only to see Dom coming back down the aisle to lift up Liv and plants one on her.
Look, bastard.
Fantastic match. I was really pleasantly surprised by the entire thing.
It was also a really good, I don't want to say fork in the story because, a lot of people saw that coming.
Uh-huh.
But the way that they handled it was very well done because you couldn't tell until the very last minute.
Yeah, you couldn't tell until he picked her up that wasn't the intention.
Yeah, because they did it in a way that it kept being wishy-washy.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really well done. A great, new direction for the story. And a very satisfying end despite Rhea losing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, a return from injury, you kind of want him to win. Because it's a triumphant return is, in my opinion, always fun.
It is. But it was enjoyable that she didn't win in the fact that we got a new storyline.
And it wasn't clean.
But we get a new branch off to this storyline for Rhea. So after that, we move on to Braun Breaker and Sami Zayn.
Another wicked match. The amount of talent that was in that ring between Sami and Braun. I mean, you got Braun with just track star speed and linebacker power. And you've got Sami Zayn with ingenuity, and he's just scrappy as hell.
Yeah, and resilient. I mean, no matter what you throw at him, he always comes back with something. And that match went back and forth, and it was another amazing match.
If I may bring back a term from the past, it was a slobber knocker.
Oh, you went there.
Yeah, I went there.
At least it wasn't a piece of rakishi. At any rate, yeah. So to slap some barbecue sauce on this, Braun ends up winning the title from Sammy. It was a well planned out match. I mean, it was absolutely beautiful. The technicality of it was awesome. The brutality of it was awesome.
The fact that both of them hit all their spots pretty well. I mean, obviously, with anything, nothing's going to be perfect where everything goes smooth. There was, when he hit that spear, Sammy didn't lift his feet up. He should have lifted them up 1 second sooner. Ooh. Stuff like that.
Yeah, but I mean, there was no real huge botch.
No, or something where it was like, they're going to run into the turnbuckle, and you could tell that they slow down like 3 steps in, and then like it's almost like they're, jogging. It's like you can clearly tell that there's not going to be any impact there.
Yeah, they did not have that.
But heck of a win. I think Braun Breaker was the right guy to stop Sammy because, Sammy obviously huge underdog, resilient. But the thing with Braun is he has the momentum and excitement right now.
He does.
That I feel can elevate that position.
He does. And they're pushing him like crazy as a dominant force, so it's hard to not have him win that when you're trying to put him out as this almost Goldberg-esque character.
And the thing is, if you're going to look back on the matches that he's had, Sammy's going to be up there as one of the best competitors he's faced.
Definitely.
And, Sammy beat him the first time, then Braun beat him the second time, and then, later on Raw in the aftermath. I guess we probably should talk about the aftermath after the match, but because the Liv Rhea thing is intertwined with a different match.
Yes.
We'll have to include that later. But on Raw, Sammy and Braun ended up having a 2 out of 3 falls match, which, they each won one, and then Braun won the third.
Yeah, Sammy won the first.
So the 3 of them were as split as possible, and then the 2 matches before were split.
Yeah.
So it's not like, Sammy's getting dominated.
Yeah, I mean, he had his moments. I do have a gripe about that, though, about the Raw 2 out of 3 falls match. And maybe I should be discussing this later, but since you brought it up, I'm a little disappointed.
Right.
If you're going to have a special stipulation match on a weekly show, like a 2 out of 3 falls, that's going to be a long match. People are sitting through it for a long period of time. I feel like you need to deliver something. And I don't feel like they delivered what the people really wanted to see.
Well, the problem is they probably didn't know in advance that they were going to do that, so they put all their best spots at SummerSlam.
Granted. But the fact that they could have just had a rematch. Just a single rematch, 1 fall. But to do a 2 out of 3 falls, I feel like that on a weekly show needs to have a payoff. The payoff being the title going back to Sammy.
So, in other words, it would have been, Braun Breaker retained, then Sami Zayn won, then Braun Breaker retained.
I feel like it was a wasted opportunity. Like, they could have taken that 2 out of 3 falls match, put it in a pay-per-view, and it would have meant more for Braun to win. But putting it on a weekly show, it kind of diminishes what that 2 out of 3 falls match means.
That's fair. But we have yet to see where it's going to go from here with the Intercontinental title. Obviously, it's a little too early to see who's going to be challenging and who's going to put on a good show in the future.
What I am curious to find out about, and this is another Raw segment that came up, but Jey Uso, he was like, hey, you're going to get that Intercontinental Champion back, and then I got something to talk to you about, because we got some unfinished business to get you to be a 2-time or a 2-title champion. He was talking about going after the tag titles. And that was, I think it was last week's episode of Raw. So I'm kind of curious to see what's happening there. Because I don't remember seeing anything else about it this week.
I don't know.
At any rate, getting back to SummerSlam.
All right, the third match being LA Knight, versus Logan Paul.
No.
Agreed. Especially once he started coming out with MGK.
Yeah, it was a surprise, but not a good surprise.
No.
It was like, he took his hood off, and it's like, oh, you gotta be kidding me.
It's like, when we were playing WWE 2K, and it was 2K23, had Machine Gun Kelly, and we paired the two of them up in a tag team that I affectionately named the Idiots.
And we did that pretty much every week.
We annihilated them to the point where if it was a living human being, they would die. Like that's how badly their characters, like, their whole body, whole body was in red, and like how many times we threw them off the Hell in the Cell, through the cell, hit them with finishers, hit them with weapons,
over and over and over again.
I mean, obviously, the fact that we know that they're not real characters, makes it amusing. Like, obviously, I wouldn't want that to happen to a real person, but I definitely get to vent my frustration at how much I disliked MGK.
So, yeah, the match in and of itself, though, was great. Like, the entrance for LA Knight when he came in the Prime Mobile and shattered the window and all that. That was well done. Except for
you know this. There you go.
And then he comes out and the match ensues, and oh my god, as much as I hate Logan Paul, I hate him even more because of just how incredibly talented he is.
Yeah. I mean, that spot where he hit he jumped onto the top rope, but as he did, he turned around in air and then did a Topa moonsault. It's like, what the hell was that? I've never seen that before.
Yeah, I mean, it was disgustingly awesome for a dude that I don't like.
Yeah. Well, and all the stuff that he's done that's impressive, like when he and Ricochet bounced off of
each other.
Bounced off of the top ropes to collide in air in the middle of the ring.
Yep.
And it's like, how they could both jump so... God, I miss Ricochet.
I do too. I want him back so bad. But the United States title on the line, MGK had a pair of brass knucks on a necklace.
So brass necks?
Yes, brass necks. And toward the end of this match, again, it was a phenomenal match. Exciting as can be.
When MGK wasn't on screen.
And then MGK hands Logan Paul the brass knucks from the necklace. And Logan Paul hits LA Knight with him as he's picking him up over the ropes for a belly-to-back suplex. And he loses the knucks, turns around, gets back in the ring, and goes for that was that slingshot clothesline thing that he does through the middle of the ropes. And LA Knight just stopped him. It's like, nope, and hit the
BFT.
The BFT.
Blunt force trauma.
For the 1, 2, 3 and new United States champion, LA Knight. Yeah.
And I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, I was so happy to see that title off of Logan Paul.
And I was so happy to see LA Knight with a title.
Me too. He deserved it. He's been working so hard for so long.
Honestly, I felt like he deserved to be a world champion earlier.
I do too.
Because he was, and still is, so over. Like, he at one point was actually selling more merch than Roman Reigns.
I mean, and he's unbelievably entertaining.
That was when Roman Reigns was in the middle of like a, 3-4 year title reign?
3 years.
And it's like, if you got a guy on that dominant of a title reign, and you've got this guy over here who's
outselling him,
not even holding a title, and he's selling more merch. Like, jeez.
Yeah, I think I chalked that up to bad decision making. They should have done something with him far sooner.
Technically, I think at the time when he was selling more merch, it was in one of those downhill bloodline before they made a change.
Yeah, one of the lulls.
Yeah. And that's I do have to give them credit on that, because whenever the bloodline story starts to get stale, they find a way to make it fun again.
They do.
And that kind of long-term storytelling is not overly easy.
No, it's extraordinarily hard.
So while he didn't sell more merch than Roman Reigns, indefinitely, it still shows that he was well over. That if you hear him in a promo and he does the pointing thing, the crowd's all over it.
Yeah.
And that shows how much they appreciate him. So if they weren't ready to give him a world title, I'm glad they gave him
the United States. I am too. I'm glad that happened, and I'm glad that it didn't happen as a result of the Money in the Bank. That was at one point a thing they were going to.
I'm still ticked off about the men's Money in the Bank being wasted.
At any rate, moving on. After that, I believe it was the Bayley and Nia Jax match.
Speaking of Money in the Bank, that was your cue.
What for the Money in the Bank?
You were supposed to explain the match, and then it leads up to Tiffy in the Bank.
Yeah, so
giving Nia the win.
Bayley and Nia. This was the match that I was
least happy with,
and least looking forward to. I don't really care about Nia Jax and what she does, what she's doing. I'm not a big fan. I'm also not an overly huge fan of Bayley. I think she's great. I think she's a really good talent, but I'm not overly impressed with either one of them. So going into this match, I really didn't care. I was kind of hoping Bayley would retain, but they go back and forth, and there was one fantastic spot where Nia's on the top rope. Bayley goes underneath and picks her up. Now, Nia Jax being a rather large woman, this was an impressive feat for Bayley to keep her on her shoulders, walk her out to the center of the ring, and powerbomb her.
Mm-hmm.
That should have been the end of it right there. But it wasn't. And Tiffy comes out with her Money in the Bank, distracting Bayley long enough for Nia Jax to hit her and pull her into the corner, and then, drops on her twice for the 1, 2, 3. And Queen of the Ring is now Women's World Champion. I was kind of expecting things to go a little bit differently with the Money in the Bank. Tiffy, I was kind of hoping would cash in on a missed attempt by Nia Jax to win. I was hoping that, Bayley had beat her, and then in the midst of it, Tiffy would come out and, beat Bayley for the title. And then that would set up a rivalry between Tiffy and Nia, because Tiffy cashed in on Nia's opportunity. And that could be a whole new storyline. But that's not what occurred. Nia Jax won. I wasn't overly impressed. The match was really good, but I wouldn't say it was fantastic like the other matches, prior to it.
And after.
Yeah. So that was the that was kind of the lull in the show for me, even though, it was still really good, but that was the only dull point for me in the entire card of SummerSlam. After which came another banger.
Seth Rollins, special guest referee for CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre.
And this match could not have been better. I really don't think it could. Seth Rollins was probably the most hilarious and best special guest referee of all time. He was fantastic in this role. And, right out of the gate, he's telling them what you're gonna do what I tell you to do, and then the match starts, right? And they charge at each other, and Seth has to run out of the way because he's gonna get caught in the middle. And McIntyre and CM Punk just went at it. And it was a wonderful, wonderful match.
It really was.
And during the match, my favorite part of the entire match, aside from Seth Rollins just being him, was that bracelet. The bracelet with AJ and what's Punk's dog's name?
Bo? Something like that?
Something like that. That bracelet just kept getting passed around from person to person. Punk took it off of McIntyre. It dropped after McIntyre hit Punk. Rollins picked it up. Punk's about to get the win over McIntyre, spots the bracelet on Rollins' wrist because he's holding it for him. And then Punk goes after Rollins, and McIntyre hits him, wins the match, and takes the bracelet back from Punk.
And now you've got Punk, who is pissed off at... No, I'm sorry. I have that backwards. You have Rollins, who is pissed off at Punk for hitting him with the GTS.
McIntyre is completely content because he won.
And got the bracelet back.
And you got Punk still unhinged because McIntyre has the bracelet. And Rollins, he blames for his loss to McIntyre. So this storyline has just been fire. And it all came about from an accident. It wasn't supposed to be this storyline, and then they have made absolute gold out of it.
But I mean, that's like we just watched on a Chris Van Vliet podcast video. He was talking to Booker T and asked how the 5-time thing came up, and Booker T said, it just happened by accident, like a lot of the great things do. So it just shows, sometimes things that aren't planned end up being the best things.
Agreed. So then moving into the title matches. Damian Priest
Versus
Gunta. And dude, the match was brutal. I mean, those open hand chops to the chest, they were like gunshots. And at one point, Damian hit Gunta so hard that his chest broke open and started bleeding. I mean, this match was such a banger. I mean, it was a brawl from the word go.
Yeah. And, both guys, showed that they could stay with each other, and you didn't know who was going to win. It was, close call, and then Finn comes down, and you're like, okay, well, he's going to end up interfering, and the match isn't going to finish clean. And sure enough,
he interfered,
and it didn't end clean.
And we have a new world heavyweight champion as a result. Finn turned on Damian Priest. Even though he took a boot from Gunther out, Finn's outside the ring and Gunther kicks him in the head because he came down to cheer on Damian, I guess. I mean, evidently not, but that's what the world thought. He came down to help Damian. Gunther kicks him in the face, and then a few minutes later, Damian hits the was it South of Heaven?
I thought it was a Razor's Edge.
I thought that came later.
No, it was South of Heaven, and then I knew something was going to happen because he rolled him towards the rope
instead of toward the center of the ring.
So I'm like, well, he's going to be on the rope.
Yep, and Finn picked up Gunther's leg and put it on the rope before the 3 count and turned his back and did not turn back around for quite a while.
And what I thought was neat was they had Damian Priest turn around and look at the replay and see that Finn screwed him, and then he turns around, and I guess Finn had some sort of cue, because as soon as Damian started turning around, Finn started turning around.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, the match continues. Damian got the upper hand briefly.
And then he ran after Finn.
And then he looked over, saw Finn, and decided that was more important.
He was going to go choke him out. And
then he ended up getting Guntherized.
All in all, an amazing match. I was pleasantly surprised as to how excited I was when Finn turned. Like, it was a breath of fresh air. I had been waiting for it to happen. I had been calling it for weeks that Finn was going to turn on Damian. He's been way too nice lately. Like, jumping on everything Damian says immediately. Like, yeah, let's go. I knew something was going to happen. I just didn't know when, and it was unbelievably awesome that it happened at SummerSlam.
Yeah. Not only that, but then on Raw, you had the new Judgment Day.
Yeah.
And then you have Rhea and Damian as the Terror Twins, which I'm still kind of
torn.
It's like, It's almost like they have a face turn, but they're not faces. Like what face do you know of the Terror Twins? And they're both like still kind of violent. So I don't know if this is necessarily a face turn or just, some weird limbo where it's heel v heel.
I disagree wholeheartedly. And I'll tell you why. Because that Monday, Damien came out and he was talking about how he did everything for the Judgment Day. It was his family.
But then he realized from watching the documentary that, the WWE Universe was his family. And I thought that was going to be a face turn. But like I said, they're the Terror Twins, and they're still violent, which is not really a face thing.
They're violent to the people that turned on them, who are the heels. Which would make them face, because the crowd is cheering them instead of booing them. And they're now acknowledging that the crowd is their family. Their family got much bigger. And I think I think it's a testament to what Damien did as world champion. Like, I will be the first to admit, when he won at Mania, I was not on board. I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. There's no way this guy should have the title. But since he has had the title, I'll be honest, I feel like he has stepped up his game immensely, and he actually did a really, really good job as champion. He won me over.
Yeah. Well, and I love the fact that, they kept having him win not clean, and he kept, getting irritated that he wasn't winning clean. Like, all he wanted to do was prove that he was, in fact, a good champion in his own right. And
every time you turn around, somebody else is causing it.
Yep. So I did love that. I was hoping for it, and it just didn't quite happen the way I wanted. I kind of wanted it to be the other way around.
What, Damien turning on them?
No, not him turning, but him leaving.
Oh.
Because, they interfered in his match, and he's like, you know what, I'm sick of this. I told you guys to stay out of the match. You didn't do it. I'm out. And then they jump him for leaving.
I like how they did it. I like that they had the Judgment Day turn on him. Instead of him just leaving.
Like I said, it didn't happen the way I wanted it, but, it worked out. I wanted them to turn on him after he went face, not him go face after they turn on him. Because it seemed like that's what they were leaning to, which I'm assuming is why they didn't do it that way, because it seemed like they were going that way. But when it seemed like he was trying to be a respectable champion, that's what he was going to try to do, and they turned on him because he's like, I'm out there to prove myself, not to have you help me.
But I feel like if they were going to do that, then it would have been at the Rollins match, because that was the stipulation.
Yeah.
He leave Judgment Day if he loses. So after that, I was like,
she technically did.
Technically. At any rate, I feel like the way they did it just adds more fuel to the fire than him leaving and them jumping him.
Well, I still thought it went well. And Finn, when he put Gunther's leg on there, he did that so smooth.
He did. And the way he reacted after he did it was even better. Like, he was spot on. He just turned his back, ducked his head, and just stood there.
Dude knows how to play a menacing heel for a short guy.
He does. He does. So, moving on from that,
Cody versus the tribal chief, in air quotes,
very,
Solo Sikoa.
very air quotes.
Solo Sikoa. And heck of a match. You know, there was the whole bloodline stipulation.
Yep, bloodline rules.
So, of course, you know, Cody versus Solo had interferences, no disqualifications. Tamatanga Loa was all like, you know, interferee. And
Jacob Fatu,
who ended up taking kind of a nasty bump on the announce table, and it looked pretty painful.
Now, I gotta wonder, because I saw all kinds of rumors about this, that he was storied.
He showed up on SmackDown in a boot. But he was still like running and, you know, hip checking and all that.
It was rumored that he was supposed to get quote unquote hurt during the match so that he didn't have anything going on when Roman finally came out.
Spoilers!
Spoiler alert.
You know, 2 weeks later, even though Roman's been on SmackDown twice since then.
Yeah. So yeah, at the end of the match, Roman finally comes back.
Which everybody knew was going to happen anyway.
Yeah, we knew it was going to happen, but it was still... I got tingles up my spine when it happened. You know, the goosebumps upon goosebumps. And he comes out and he, you know, the announcers are all like, well, who's he here for? And the other one's like, oh, obviously he's here to, you know, get back his World Heavyweight Championship. He's going to get back at the guy that took it from him. And instead he goes and super punches Solo. And then, hoo-ah! And speared Sikoa and left.
And then Cody's like, you know, what's going to happen? And he's just keeps looking back like, you know, just finish him already. And then we have the week after, he comes out, you know, because Solo, like, baits him out. He basically just wrecks his shit. And
he gets his hands on the Ulafala.
That was this week.
That was last week. I haven't seen this week.
This past SmackDown was the one where he got the Ulafala and put it back on and like orgasmed.
Wait, Roman got the Ulafala back?
Temporarily.
Well, he picked it up.
Oh, yeah.
The Monday before, and then got hit and dropped it, and they ended up retrieving it for Solo.
Yeah, I remember that now. And then this past Friday, he got it. He put it back on him and was like, oh. It's like, you know, oh, it feels so good to have this back on. And then he got jumped by Fatu.
Ah.
And then it was, you know, removed and put back around Solo's neck. So, yeah.
The fight for the Ulafala continues.
And the other Wild Samoan just died too, so.
Yeah, Afa.
Yeah.
I did see that.
Oh my god, he didn't Afa himself, did he?
No.
Get it?
I get it.
Not OFF himself, but AFA.
So yeah,
and I still think it's funny that Roman literally has not spoken the entire time he's been back.
Has not said a word. He's been back 2 weeks.
That's technically not true. He said, ooh, ah. Oh,
you mean like our Geekosity podcast when we say, oh, hey.
No, when I said that he hasn't spoken. I was saying it's not entirely true. He said, ooh, ah.
So, your thoughts, SummerSlam. As
overall, great pay-per-view. Overall, very, very enjoyable. The middle part was
Nia Jax Bailey?
Yes. Well, and, MGK.
But the match itself was amazing.
Yes, but MGK.
But MGK and Logan Paul.
I can tolerate Logan Paul when he's in the ring. I cannot tolerate Logan Paul when he's talking.
I agree. His voice and the things he says are like nails going across a chalkboard.
He is a perfect fit in WWE, and his character work is on point. His in-ring work is on point, but him, personality-wise, he just bugs me. And, obviously not everyone can like everyone, and I'm sure he wouldn't like me, but honestly, I think it's his face. It reminds me too much of his brother, and I dislike his brother far more than him. Like, originally, Jake Paul was the one I didn't like, and then I found out he had a brother named Logan. I was like, oh, I don't like you either.
See, I was vice versa. I did not like Logan Paul to begin with, and then found out he had a brother, and don't like him either.
Huh.
Well, I mean, when you're dumb enough to call out Mike Tyson.
Oh, this was
garbage about
this
him.
was before the Mike Tyson though. Like, Logan Paul just strikes me as so unbelievably cocky, and I think that's what it is. He's just got that smug look and voice to him.
Because he's a famous YouTuber making ungodly amounts of money.
Yeah, but I think that's just what it is about him. His brother, I think his brother's exceedingly overrated.
I would tend to agree. I mean, all of his matches he has to have special stipulations on.
But yeah, I very much enjoyed the pay-per-view, which, I hate being let down by one of the big four. And it was just, like, I hate how the last two Money in the Banks, they started with the men's Money in the Bank ladder match.
Yeah.
I don't believe that you should start the pay-per-view with a Money in the Bank match, no matter which one it is. I'm not saying flip-flop them. I'm saying a Money in the Bank ladder match should not start the pay-per-view.
Well, I mean, the pay-per-view is literally called...
the premium live event.
Yeah, the premium live event is literally called Money in the Bank. Those should be the main events.
Well, I get not doing it as the main event because, having a world title match in the main event, it's like, hey, are they going to cash in now? And in the case of this year, no. Well, I mean, yes, no. He cash in, he'd lose. No more Money in the Bank. Yay.
Nothing to fall back on during the year. For me, I'm going to tell you, SummerSlam was by far one of the best PLEs I've seen in many, many years. It was exciting from the word go. As soon as they, except for the Nia Jax Bailey match, which
it wasn't horrible.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad match. It was fun to watch.
The problem is all the other matches on the card were above average, and theirs was just an average match.
Well above average.
Had they not had such a fantastic card, the Nia Jax and Bailey match wouldn't have been a bore. Because they put on a good match when everyone else put on a great match.
Agreed.
And that's the problem with, you could go out there and put on a good match, but if the matches before and after you are great,
yours becomes forgettable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've not seen a PLE that I have been on the edge of my seat the entire time in a very long time. And kudos to Triple H.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've been on the edge of my seat for him before, but it wasn't. It was because I knew what was coming and I was excited. But this one was like, I don't know. Like, for example, it was, what, WrestleMania 38? Was that the one where Stone Cold came back?
Yeah, with Kevin Owens.
Yeah, like, I was giddy all night because I was waiting for the glass breaking.
But the matches themselves in that Mania, they were good.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is,
they
like,
weren't.
I was on the edge of my seat all night, but it was because in anticipation for Stone Cold.
Right, you were on the edge of your seat for one thing. I was on the edge of my seat for everything.
You know, when you're watching this match, you're like, oh my god, I can't believe they just did that. Holy crap, that was awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what SummerSlam was.
The entire night was amazing.
Yeah, even with the Nia Bailey match, it had good spots. And I am not a Nia Jax fan because, for one, I feel like I can't remember her name. I think it's like Lena Fatine or something. You know, Nia Jax, you know, in real life.
Yeah.
You know, like, I've seen her on social media and stuff with some of the other WWE people, and she seems really cool.
I've heard that she is a fantastic person, and everybody loves her backstage.
And I think that's why she bugs me as a heel, because I don't think she can play the heel that she's supposed to be.
No, she's very, very bland.
And she seems like she's trying too hard. And I think that's a big problem, is because you take this super nice person and you try to make him out to be like this, you know, this hard ass that doesn't care, and it doesn't always translate. Sometimes she's got it down, other times she doesn't. And I think it's just
listening to her, the way she
promos,
does her promos.
Yeah,
it's hard for me to listen to her and take it seriously.
It just seems like she's trying too hard. Now, like, in the ring, you know, she does heel stuff. Works great. She's like the irresistible dominant force. But outside of that, like, her facial expressions, I don't take her seriously. I think it's because I've seen, you know, the nice, good person behind the character. It's like, it would be really weird if I saw a picture of, like, you know, Stone Cold Steve Austin cuddling a kitten. I think that would, like, ruin the whole badass, you know, everything. You know, I wouldn't be able to, you know, look at The Rock and take him seriously if I didn't, like, know that his personality was just kind of that guy. You know, like, when he was the final boss.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to take that seriously if I didn't know that, you know, this guy is just, in real life, a talker.
Yeah.
You know, because I would have wanted, you know, The Rock that came out and was the people's champion and everything. You know, final boss wouldn't have worked for me.
Yeah, I agree. Like,
Now, it's not the same because, I mean, he's been heel before and it works fine.
Yeah, he was heel and he was great as a heel then. But I was expecting the people's champ, The Rock, to come back. And it was hard for me to take when they turned him heel. But I have to admit,
But, like, if you watch interviews and stuff with him, he is just that guy. Like, it's sort of like Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, you watch anything he is, it's like, okay, that's just him.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he was so believable, was because he was still being him. He just did it with a little more of a, you know, a cocky attitude about it.
Right.
And it's vastly different from her, where it's kind of like the opposite of her personality. And it's not really much of her real personality in there. No. I think that's why Drew McIntyre is such a better heel now, because he's got some of his personality mixed in. He's just putting attitude behind it.
Yeah, he's just playing himself.
Because if you remember, like Chosen One, Drew McIntyre, he sucked.
He was terrible.
Triple H Evolution sucked.
Yeah.
But if you, I will swear by this, if you have a WWE character where the person portraying that character gets to put some of their personality behind it, it will be infinitely better than if they're just playing a character that they can't connect to.
I will agree to that wholeheartedly.
And I think that's one of the reasons that was a disappointing match for me, was just because it's really hard for me to get behind Nia Jax as a heel.
It's hard for me to believe in her as a heel, period. And, that this is even prior to me finding out that she was actually a really nice person and everybody else loves her outside of the ring. And there was just something about her and the way she does her promos and the way the way she puts herself out there. It's like, no, this isn't working.
Well, and another thing that bugs me is, watching her do that thing where she drops down in the corner.
Yep.
And just seeing her not holding on to the rope. And it's like, I know that you're supposed to hold on to the rope. Because that's what Yokozuna always did. And they explained why. So when she's not doing that, I'm feeling like, you're just sitting on people.
And not respecting their safety.
Now it may just be that she's not necessarily inexperienced, but, it's one of these people who, she did it once, and, once you do it once, it's really hard to, I know people like that. Like, for example, your name's Danny. So if they were to, for some reason, think your name was Sammy, you would be Sammy forever, because they would never be able to get your name right.
And they'd probably do it on purpose.
No, it's just, once they do something, it's ingrained in their brain. I don't know if she's like that or not. Obviously, I've never met the woman, so I can't say. But that just really bugs me, because it's like, it's like when somebody does a move, and I'm looking at it, it's like, okay, you just slammed them down on their neck or their head. It's like, no, you shouldn't do that. I understand that mistakes happen, but that was careless.
Right.
No. I do think she is starting to get better.
I think she's starting to get better, but I don't know. I can't.
Because I remember, one of the things that really screwed over Shinsuke Nakamura is he was having a match with John Cena and dropped him on his head. And they punished him for it. And I don't think his career has ever recovered.
No, it hasn't. I haven't seen him on TV for quite a while.
Yeah. But it was just one of those things, he went for a body drop, and he didn't even, Cena's head landed on the mat. Just, flat on his head. And, accidents happen. But if you're, doing things that are repeated, you keep doing a move that's hurting people.
Like D'Lo Brown.
Yeah, D'Lo was an unsafe worker. Or, I was thinking more along the lines of, Ryback.
Yeah, Ryback. That's another
now,
one.
he still swears he was perfectly safe, but I've seen some of his crap, and it's like, it may have been exaggerated how bad you were a little bit, but you definitely don't look like you were all that safe.
No.
Like the match that Punk talked about, where he was supposed to throw him through the table, but he missed
the table entirely,
and Punk landed square on his back. I don't see how that should have happened ever.
No, it shouldn't.
And stuff like that just bugs me as a fan because, I enjoy watching these people. I don't want to see them get hurt, like, legitimately to a point where they lose their livelihood.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, it's not entertaining for me to watch somebody get hurt in that way.
Well, it's also not entertaining to watch someone be overly cautious and, not drop them down, but set them down.
Well, no, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying when it's something where it looks like they don't care about, trying to keep each other safe.
Right.
Like, you'll see instances where wrestlers will get hurt and the other wrestler will do something to get the match ended.
Right.
Like, I believe it was Neville, who was facing, Pac in AEW now. He was facing Chris Jericho, and his knee or ankle or something went out. So Jericho shoved the referee to get himself disqualified.
So that the match would end and they could tend to Neville.
And, like, back in the day, before Eddie got clean, it was he and Mysterio versus JBL, and I want to say the Dudleys. And Eddie blacked out, or just like collapsed. He's just like wide eyes, and they're all like looking weird. And JBL like gets in the ring and pins him, and tells the ref count. So he pins him, and he's keeping the heel character, but you could tell that he was worried.
Yeah.
From that initial reaction. So it's like, okay, something's wrong. In match. And they ended up like putting him on oxygen, like doing the respirator thing.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, I really enjoy seeing. The careless part just kind of is the exact opposite. And God, I wish I could stop talking.
No. That's a very, very valid point. Because
really, because I feel like I just went on for an hour.
No, that is a very valid point because watching these shows, you don't want the people that you're watching to not show up next week. Because as a wrestling fan, I love seeing certain people on the show.
But it's not even like I don't even just want it. Like, for example, Randy Orton's my favorite. I love Randy Orton. But when they said he hurt his back, as much as I wanted to see him back, I also kind of didn't want him to come back. Because I didn't want him to come back and end up being in a point where he was paralyzed or, in so much pain he couldn't enjoy his own life.
Yeah.
Like, he's got a family. I want him to be able to spend time with them and enjoy it.
Right.
So it's not just as a fan wanting to see them, but as a fan not wanting them to ruin their own life for the sake of my enjoyment,
Right. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like, as much as I would love to have seen more of HBK, I'm glad he retired. Because for what he went through with his back and everything, I would hate to hear that because he came back and wrestled for a long period of time to, quote unquote, become the best there ever was, that he can't walk or, needs assisted help for anything.
Yeah. I was like, with Triple H.
Yeah.
I'm glad that he has no problem staying out of the ring now.
Yeah, me too.
Like, he is perfectly happy with where he is. And because it's like, I don't want the guy to drop dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he pushed himself too hard. Especially now because, I mean, I don't know how old their daughters are, but I'm sure they're at least approaching high school age, if not already there. So, like, he's getting close to seeing, them learn to drive, graduate high school. Like those are big milestones that I wouldn't want him to miss for the sake of going out there and entertaining people.
Right.
You know, it's just, I don't know. I feel like I'd rather know that they're out there and could, make sporadic appearances. At
Even if just for a promo.
Like Raw 5000, something like that. Because that would be super cool to see them, but you also know that they get to go home to their families and enjoy their life.
Right.
Or at least hope they enjoy their life.
And might pop up again somewhere.
Yeah. Hopefully not another company.
But reeling this back into SummerSlam, let's speculate a little bit. Up and coming, we have a few pay-per-views.
Up and coming first is Bash in Berlin, which is 2 weeks from yesterday.
Which your dude, RKO, is going up against Gunther.
In a King of the Ring rematch. Who's going to be King of the rematch?
Your thoughts?
I think Gunther's going to win. But I think it's going to be clean this time. Because he was supposed to win at King of the Ring, and it ended up being an accidental screw-up. Which, usually there aren't intentional screw-ups. Those only happen in Montreal.
Well, and in WCW.
And I still think it's funny that that whole Seth Rollins, CM Punk, and Drew McIntyre thing was a callback to a previous match with
HBK as the ref.
HBK as the special guest referee. But yeah, it's, in my opinion, going to be exactly what the King of the Ring was supposed to be.
Yeah.
A match that shows what they can both do, and then Gunther will end up winning, but, leaving everybody satisfied with the match that they had.
Yeah. I would tend to agree. I think Gunther needs to win.
The only thing that makes me think that Randy could win is the fact that they love to screw people over in their,
in their first title run,
quote unquote, because it's from Austria, home crowds.
That's true too. And the other thing that makes me think that Randy could possibly win is this gives him number 15.
Well, the rumor is he's supposed to take the title from Cody. And then, sort of like how, McIntyre lost it and then got it back. When he beat Lesnar for it at WrestleMania 30. No. 36? 35? No, it wasn't 35. It was the one in 2020 when there was
nobody in the stadium.
But he won it and then he lost it and then he regained it. It was just, they didn't want the first reign to be too long, so they just intermittently had Randy beat him for it. And the rumor is Randy's going to beat him for it, and then Cody's going to win it back. Whether or not that's true or not,
I don't see that. Like, the storyline I'm seeing right now is going to be Roman and the Bloodline, and Cody is going to be a part of that because, obviously he got the belt from Roman. So there's going to be a story there for the two of them, or they'll have him drop it to Solo so that Roman can win it back from Solo.
With the Ula Fa La La La.
Yes.
La La La
La. That's kind of what I'm seeing. I don't see Randy taking it off of Cody. I don't see a real big desire for people to see that because, Randy and Cody have been aligned.
Well, I think the big reason for that was just because, well, for one, Randy was the youngest world champion ever.
Mm-hmm.
World heavyweight champion, sorry. And on top of that, he mentored Cody when Cody first came in. So now it's sort of like, well, student versus master kind of thing. And then, master beats student, student comes back, student beats master, student has now become the master. That kind of deal. I think what the whole rumored storyline was supposed to be. But again, you can't believe all these rumors because you never know where they come from.
Right.
You read something and you have no idea if that's the opinion of the person that you're reading or if they heard it somewhere.
So also at Bash at Berlin,
Cody versus KO,
which is interesting to me. Like I respect what he's doing with that. How he came out and he said, I've been thinking about who I want to have challenged for this belt, and there's one guy. And Cody comes out and saves, or KO comes out and saves Cody's ass again. And he says, funny, you should come out here. I was just telling the crowd that, there's one person I want to defend this title against, and it's you.
Yeah, and I also appreciated that KO's like, no, I haven't done anything recently to earn it.
Right.
I haven't won a number one contendership match. I don't have any pinfalls over you. There are plenty of other guys in the back that have done more to earn that spot than me.
And then the subsequent interview in back with Aldis.
Yeah, where he's like, well, funny enough, I was about to give it to Roman Reigns. Like, what? You're going to give it to Roman Reigns? I'm more deserving than Roman Reigns. He is the one person that deserves it less than me. Where's his... rematch clauses aren't enforced anymore. I didn't get one.
Yeah.
And then Nick Aldis, reveals that he basically just, baited him into it.
It's like, I think I see it, and I know they see it, and now I think you see it.
So, I've said this... I said this to you a long time ago, back during the whole, Elias Ezekiel thing, that Kevin Owens, in my opinion, is one of the funniest guys in, not just promos, but even, backstage segments and just in the ring goof off ability. He is one of the funniest guys that I have seen in a very long time. And I absolutely love when he's around because he's got, the right delivery, tone of voice, facial expressions, reactions, everything.
And I'll be honest, I did not like him initially. I really did not. I felt like he was hard to watch. And over the last couple of years, he's another one that's won me over. Because of the stuff he does in ring that's just goofy and out of character, and it's like, that was hilarious.
I think that a lot of videos I saw of him, at live events, I saw how goofy he can be. And I'm like, man, I wish I could get more of that, on screen.
Yeah.
And then it started appearing, and I'm like, yes! Because, the one time, he was on the apron, and he's just, bouncing up and down, real funny, mocking people. And then the whole time where he's, mimicking Randy Orton's, leaning pose on the corner, Orton turns, and he just, jumps off of the turnbuckle real quick. I love the thing where he's like, there's no way that I can, or I guarantee you I can punch you both in the face. There's no way you can punch us both in the face. We would have to both be standing right here. Boom! And he's like, Nick, do you see that? I told you I could do it. Oh my god, that guy is just phenomenal. And at first, I was pissed when he got the stunner from Stone Cold because I kind of wanted that to be the Stone Cold stunner forever. But
yeah.
he has made it his own, and it's to the point now where I just love seeing it.
I love seeing it because of Stone Cold.
Well, but, again, it's if someone does a move that It'd be like seeing someone else do the AA. Like, seeing R-Truth do it is different because...
Funny enough, I saw someone do it this week on Raw. I think it was Bronson Reed did it.
I thought he did a Death Valley Driver.
It looked very similar to an AA. He caught Miz, threw him up on his shoulder, and then up and over. He fell with it, but...
Yeah. But, like, seeing, like, R-Truth do it because, quote-unquote...
his childhood hero.
Yeah. Like, that's different. Like, having Riddle do the RKO, during his partnership with Randy Orton. Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But that was, once John Cena retires, having somebody do the attitude adjustment is just... It's going to feel weird.
Well, and typically the older moves, the older finishers are off limits.
Yeah, like, Seth Rollins does the pedigree. But during the authority part, he was, like, Triple H's protege.
Yeah, he was the understudy.
And he adopted that move. Okay, that makes sense. But if someone were to come in and, I don't know, Damian Priest did old school, but that wasn't really like Undertaker's finishing move. But I think anybody these days does the tombstone. It's just not the same. It wasn't Kane or Undertaker. It's just not right.
Right. I would tend to agree.
But
so have any other matches been announced for Bash?
I don't know that any have been confirmed.
Because I don't recall hearing anything else that's going to happen at Bash. Maybe. Wait. Yes, I do. I do recall one. It's going to be Damian and Rhea against Dominic and Liv.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. The whole, like, revenge thing from the previous pay-per-view.
Do you see that being a...
I see...
retribution, or do you see that being more fuel on the fire?
Well, I think it, like, Damian and Rhea would be looking for retribution, but I do feel that McDonough, Balor, and Carlito are going to get involved, and then it's going to end up fueling the fire.
I can definitely see that. I mean, Finn literally said he was going to wait until Damian felt safe and he'd be there to stab him in the back every single time. But on the other hand, I could also see, even though that happens, Rhea and Damian turning and, annihilating Carlito, JD, and Finn.
No, I think it's just going to turn out into an all-out free-for-all.
So do you think this one ends with a no contest, a disqualification, or do you think someone actually wins it?
I think it's going to end up being most likely they call it disqualification due to interference, and it just becomes an all-out brawl. Damian and Rhea versus...
the entirety of the new Judgment Day.
And then as they're beating them, Judgment Day takes off, and then they give chase, and then you don't see him anymore.
I don't know. I got the way I'm seeing this one go down. I think, yes, the Judgment Day will get involved, but I think in the end, Damian and Rhea are going to win the match. Not by DQ, but by pinfall.
It's very possible. It's obviously unconfirmed at this point, but I'm also assuming that because they just crowned number one contenders for the tag titles, since they don't have any other matches on the card, I'm assuming that on Monday and Friday they're going to announce either tag team matches or mid-card title matches.
I saw qualifying matches. I didn't see the who got the.
Street Profits are the number one contenders for the Bloodline.
Okay.
And I don't
see the Bloodline winning that.
That depends. Does someone interfere? Because during this whole thing, I could see Roman interfering or Jimmy, Jay, Solo's whole bloodline being attacked. I can see that happening.
Okay, if they're going to bring back, a tag team to Roman, then yeah, I could see that. But I don't think they would do it at Bash.
I was just thinking maybe it's one of those things where, they have the opportunity to say, hey, the bloodline is facing an all-out attack, because it doesn't make sense to me for them to be the WWE Tag Team Champions if they're going to be involved in the bloodline feud, because then you would have to have them defend their titles and be a part of that feud somehow at the same time, and I just feel like that's a lot of work.
Well, see, I disagree. I think having them with the tag team gold gives validity to the bloodline and their dominance, because nobody can beat them. They have the world tag titles. It makes them look strong, makes them look like a dominant force, and it gives more of a I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. It gives a stronger presence to the new bloodline if they're not going to give Solo the world title.
I guess. I just kind of felt like the feud should be the main focus of that story, not the tag titles.
Oh, it should, obviously. But I also think that when it comes down to it, if it was me, I would bring Roman's bloodline together before I put tag team titles on the line. Like, I would put them on screen having...
No, I'm saying have...
the Street Profits win, and then bring back...
I'm not saying have Roman's bloodline beat them. I'm saying have Roman and or like one of the Usos cost the bloodline.
And then you have that whole...
I'm so good with words. That extra bitterness.
I think personally, I would rather see them start to rebuild his bloodline before the tag team titles go bye-bye, instead of having it happen when. I like that whole anticipation thing. Are they going to come out? Not, hey, it's just Roman right now, so it wouldn't make sense for this to happen or that to happen.
I guess.
But that's just me. I don't know.
We'll see.
That we will.
But I mean, with only 3 matches, and it being literally a week from Saturday, I find it hard to believe that they're not going to have more, you know?
Oh, yeah, they have to.
So they either have to put Intercontinental United States tag team titles on the line, or, you know, the women's, like Nia Jax's championship needs to be on the line, or just throw in some non-title matches.
That have some good feud.
Yeah.
Do you think we get a CM Punk McIntyre rematch?
Like what? Punk v McIntyre Spy?
Yeah.
Probably not so soon.
Because, I mean, what other storylines can you think of that have that much heat that could bring home a show?
Wyatt 6 versus
Creed brothers and Gable.
line.
That's wanted to be fun to see, but I don't think they've really built up enough story for that to happen yet.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying it necessarily has to be like a multi-tag team. You know, you could have like Joe Gacy and Dexter Loomis versus the Creed brothers, or, you know, Chad Gable versus Eric Rowan or something like that. Ooh. Ivy Nile used to be with the Creed brothers. You know, unless she's like injured or something, I don't know. It'd be kind of cool to have Nikki Cross versus Ivy Nile. Have Ivy Nile come to try and help the Creed brothers and get all crossed.
But we will see what happens. I would say we've covered a lot of ground today.
I can't even remember what we started with.
SummerSlam.
No, I know that, but I mean, like, I can't remember the stuff that we talked about before. I have a tendency to just keep talking and shut up. I feel like I've been talking forever. I'm sure the listeners do too.
We've been talking forever. I've been talking a lot too.
I need a drink.
So we should sign off for now. But thank you, everybody, for listening. We
appreciate you.
Yeah,
person.
We do. We appreciate the one person that actually listens. Actually, 3.
We appreciate you, people. Wait, what do I mean, you people? What do I mean, you people? There I go, not shutting up again. End this, so I shut up.
All right. Take care, everyone. Have a great week.
Bye.